So before we start, I'll just get some videos playing so that we can basically start before we start the main program. Okay. So. Pradeep, can you hear the sound from the video?
Nope. Nope. I didn't hear
the sound. Okay.
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, you heard the sound from the video.
Yes.
Harry. All right.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I heard it.
All right.
That's my boss.
What does it take? Do you need infinity to get back to data, or do you need to put elastic gymnastics and help back to data? All you did is Nutanix time machine. Nutanix time machine. Feel better. Get back to data. Now, Nutanix era is not just time machine. It's a comprehensive set of database services. Started with provision. Early customers, tremendous start for us. Thank you for trusting your 40 terabyte system, terabytes of building and logistics. So what's new? I'm happy to announce that we are extending the HA capability of that is SQL Server as well as HA, that you get AG clusters. And also, I'm super excited to inform that we are introducing a brand new service, one-click match. Yes, not just for infrastructure upgrades from Nutanix, extend one-click match for your favorite database. And finally, we'll make our backend. What does it mean is you can view, you can append, and then confine your user values. You can confine them certain type of thing. Let's see all of this in a detail. I am logging in as Bala, the super user, the Nutanix Central side, the time machine dashboard. As you can see, you can do 7x space in. Part 2 is 51 databases, 6 databases, and 1.2. 90 terabytes less. And etc. You probably are just around 30 terabytes, right? Let's quickly do a demo and then go to the provisioning. All you need to do is provisioning, pick your choice of History, Oracle, and then let's do 4-node clusters. We're talking about rack database, 4-node rack cluster on Nutanix. Now, everything about Nutanix is all about standardization. So let's see first set the next cluster name. Provisioning is all about standardization. We let create standards them as you see like. So let's talk about you can pick your own custom profile, you can pick your own profile, you can pick our own software. That means that you can create a code image and let you use. Let's go to the next step, create a sales database. Service ID, password. And look at the size of the database. Terabytes. One thing that we take out from provisioning is we will implement all the best practices. You don't need to worry about how to re-platform your database. Understand all the best practices. Favorite EM agent as part of the clustering. Time machine, that means that this is the promise of implement RTO. For that, here you can do 30 days vacation, 30 days of daily provisioning. That's all it takes for 4-node rack system on Nutanix. We'll do all the steps that are needed. We'll create the cluster machines, we'll allocate the storage, deploy software, database software, create the ASM. Now let me go back and show you what does it mean once you patch. Go to databases again. Go to one of the CRM database that I have created, and it seems to be running on July PSU. You see, July 2018 PSU. It also says that there is an update available for this. I can go to different patches. You'll be presented with different images that are caused for this database to get like we have an October PSU, far more secure than what it is. Now you get to choose your downtime or you get to choose your maintenance on patches united or it will be now like emergency. All that it takes is literally 1 click for database patch. And this will get you your Oracle database to get patched. It's a number of steps I'm not going to do. Definitely at one of what I patching process we are talking, right? That's one. While this patching process is going on, that is not good data management. Probably I'll break some pieces of world records of data management. So here is our running for more than 8 years testing it ourselves. It has an SLA of 4. That means that 30 days of continuous recovery literally can do any point in time, order of second, or until last sub-second, the transaction. And then say that I would like to make a clone. Now, to see this demo, go 3 months back, what's doing the time machine? Now, time machine has the capability not only to observe data protection as well, but also use app sanitizer. That means that you want to kind of create a massive copy of your data set. And how do you do that? You can see this time machine maintains sanitized copies. There are only 4 copies of sanitized copies in this time machine. How do you achieve that? Let's just go to that installation. You will see that you can create a masking policy. Okay, I have created a masking policy for format presenting data numbers. I can maintain 4 snapshots for the periodicity of the weekend, and also make sure that I give this only sanitized copies access to my QA. Here is how you do. There is a data access management control that you can do it. I have given this to Mr. David, who is my QA lead in the company, and say that, hey, you can access my time machine, but only sanitized copies have access. Let me log it back, and what I do. Now I'm logged as David. You can see that I have 0 sources. That means that I don't control any databases. I do have time machine access. Let's see what I have, what I can do. So I, as the David here, has access to only time machine sanitized snapshot, not the data protection. I don't have access to those databases. I just want to consume even the functionality that what I can do. Let's go and look at the action. I cannot manage this time. I can only consume. I can create clone. Let me go ahead and create a clone. Cloning is pretty much close to this kind of stuff with your snapshot. And again, your company profile, and of course, you don't carry passwords. Password. And that's all it takes to create a sanitized clone environment by your QA from the time. Right? Now, finally, I will conclude the demo with one click back to databases by the same person. I have a MySQL database, billing. It has not been registered for 2 days. Now, my skill that I need to go back to the latest date. I've presented all the latest snapshots that I can do. Again, you snapshot. Let's go back to the latest standardized snapshot and click on resume. Again, one thing. The point I'm trying to convey here is we are ready for enterprise workflow. Performance doesn't want to give the lifecycle management like an iPhone experience to database. Cut down the provisioning from days to minutes, hours to seconds. Literally, this is an application control plan. And we can create highly efficient, elegant copies and data production. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll start in about a minute. Welcome, Christian, Frank, Rosanna, Joel, Mandela. You're welcome. So we'll start in about a minute. Let's just give some time for others to join in, and then we can start.
Hello, this is Mark Malotki, your Nutanix SE. Today, I would like to provide you an overview of Prism Element, Prism Central, and Prism Pro. First, it is important to understand that our Nutanix solution is made up of two distinct pieces, Prism and Acropolis. Since we will be diving into Prism today, I want to spend a moment talking about Acropolis. Operating system that includes the application fabric, and let's not forget our Acropolis hypervisor that we like to call AHV. So what is Prism? Here's my definition. Single pane of glass to manage your data, insights, and one-click planning. This is very important because if you think about the way you go about your day in the data center, you are actually in and out of multiple tools and GUIs to not only manage your data center parts and pieces, but you also need even more tools and GUIs to try to understand the health and wealth of your data center. And of course, all of these tools and GUIs just never line up correctly when you are trying to troubleshoot problems in your data center. When you become part of the Nutanix family, Nutanix owns the data center stack and has it turned into software, so Prism is truly your single pane of glass for your entire data center. Alrighty, let's talk about Prism Element. Because we follow web scale architecture best practices, Nutanix is fully distributed with no single point of failure and provides self-healing on multiple levels. Every single node in our Nutanix cluster runs a controller virtual machine, or CVM. This CVM not only runs our Acropolis operating system, Prism Element is also running inside each CVM. Once your Nutanix cluster is up and running, you simply access Prism Element, we just say Prism, by opening up your web browser of choice and connecting to the cluster IP address or the individual CVM IP address. Since Prism is HTML5, there is no Java or Flash needed. I have customers that actually access Prism from their tablets or mobile devices to manage their data center. As I mentioned, Nutanix is built on web scale architecture. So if a single CVM fails.
Okay, so I think we can start now. Just to confirm, can all the attendees hear me? I know the panelists can hear, but can you guys hear Christian, Frank?
Yes, today we can start
Okay.
doing the presentation. So
Okay.
all the participants are in mute. So
Okay.
yes, we will start, and if they have any Q&A session, they can drop. If they have any question or any doubt or clarity required, they can drop it on the Q&A session. Then we can address one by one. In the end of the session, we have some small quiz session will be conducting by me, and we have some good goodies or Amazon voucher will be given to top 3 people who is going
Great.
to win the quiz competition.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes, yes.
Great. I also saw that Christian raised his hand, so it means they can hear very well. All right, so we just start. Yeah, so basically, we're talking about unlocking the power of database automation. My name is Babatunde. I work with Nutanix, managing the channel for West and East Africa. And basically, the reason we are doing this is, I mean, many of you already know the foundations of Nutanix. You already know how Nutanix brings one-click simplicity, one-click management to digital enterprises. How Nutanix transforms 3-tier architecture to hyper-converged infrastructure and builds that, trajectory to an enterprise hybrid cloud. Now, the question is, how do we now leverage all that functionality for databases? I mean, databases are one of the critical applications. When we talk of critical applications within enterprises, applications that mean most to enterprises. Okay, and when organizations are thinking of modernizing their infrastructure, they are not leaving their applications behind. As they are modernizing their infrastructure, they are ensuring that they are carrying their applications along and ensuring that the applications are able to deliver the same, consistent performance, the same adaptability, resilience that the infrastructure is providing. The application should be able to leverage that natively, and they have certain complexities that are prevalent or are particular to database environments. And we'll be talking about many of them, many of the legacy infrastructure complexity hurting databases are what you see on the screen. I mean, infrastructures are in such a way that provisioning of databases are slow. Enterprises cannot guarantee the performance of those applications. And of course, the cost, cost in setting up or cost in onboarding those database applications. From a process perspective, it's also difficult to scale. Enterprises find themselves going through rounds and rounds of infrastructure provisioning to be able to scale their databases, and then upgrades. How do they currently upgrade their database? Not to mention downtime from a process perspective. How much downtime can we reduce leveraging hyperconverged infrastructure, particularly for databases? In a traditional applications, leveraging HCI or Nutanix HCI alone has been known to reduce downtime by up to 90%. So if you add databases into that picture, what value can we realize? And knowing that databases, in most cases, for most enterprises, are linked to the revenue earning or the revenue earning applications for enterprises, it tells us something right off the bat, that if we can reduce downtime for databases, we can translate that to increase in revenue for the enterprise. And then people, how does the organization ensure that the database administrators and other database members of the database team and application team spend their time innovating, spend their time thinking of bright new ideas for transforming the business, for transforming business models, and not bogged down by the nuts and bolts of managing the database? Why do they ensure that they don't require IT specialists for every single activity they're performing in a database? So we'll be talking about all these things, how to reduce that complexity around business critical applications, specifically around databases. Okay, so I have with me two of my colleagues who will be going through this discussion with me. Let me invite Predi to continue this conversation. So Predi, I'll stop sharing now.
Thank you.
and just pass the ball to you.
Okay, I got it. Let's start my share screen. So, okay, I think everyone hear me clearly and then see my screen clearly. My name is Preedy. You can call me PD. I'm based in Bangkok, Thailand. You maybe heard about this country. It's a small country in ASEAN, in Asia. So yeah, I work in Nutanix around 5.5 years already. I'm start as a local SE and now I'm database solution for ERA, support for APJ and our team here. So, okay, what we talk about that, how we gonna bring conversation from just the infrastructure, right? So every time that we are going to the customer, we first think that we have the VMware, right? We have the Microsoft, and we have the HPE or Dell, right? So we compete on the infra level, right? So that at the end, we'll be talking about the price. Right? I believe that everywhere in the whole world is still acting for the less price, right? How we gonna bring our conversation that they don't care? Let's say that why people still buy iPhone, right? Because it's good, it's used easily, right? Why people still use the new flagship of Samsung, right? Because it's new, it's easy to use, right? Why we just using the regular phone, we just calling, right? So we need to bring that our values, and it's just the hardware that behind that, so that this is we can unlock that the database opportunity. Because if you can run databases, meaning that you can run any application on our Nutanix, right? So why I mentioned that, because that in opportunity that in the whole world we have a multi-billion opportunity, right? So you may heard about the Oracle Hexadata, you may heard about the DB2, right? Microsoft SQL, and actually a lot of the deal that bringing our ERA, I mean our database platform, they will be increase the deal size like 5x, right? And one of the 5 booking what we have is all about the database, around 80%, almost 20%. That means that every 100 node we sold, we have 20% for databases, which is a huge, right? And then we have a lot of customers that try to bring up the database out of from the physical server, right? Many times the customers still running on bare metal because they don't know how to migrate the database. And now we have a lot of chance that, you know, that the Oracle will be end of support on, 11G will be end of support for this year. So meaning that the customer need to migrate to the new version for the support. That means that we have the opportunity that we can help the customer as well. So this is an opportunity that still there. I think that you guys can capture this. And this is just only ERA. You may heard about ERA, and then yeah, we have a lot of customer adoption. Actually, the ERA just start last year. I mean, ERA is part of our Nutanix, right? So you know about the Nutanix, the AOS, right? The infrastructure. The ERA will be on top of it for the database as a service. We call ERA. And you can see that just only 1 year, we have almost, I believe that now should be more 150 customers that already running ERA. So let's say that I have the customer, right? This is a real customer that I sold, and we have the business case that we can solve for them. And actually, they already running on Nutanix, okay, on AHV, and they have the Oracle production here, right? What they have to do is they want to run that the database Oracle. They need to run the BI or business intelligence for reporting or decision maker, meaning that they need to query a lot of data from the production. But if you are query from the production, meaning that your production will be slow, right? So from the production will be slow. So what they are doing, so they're using the backup, right? It's just like call man dump and restore to another server or master VMs so that they can run against that clone databases, so not impact through production. And the problem is they consume a lot of storage because they just dump data and restore to the new one. So actually they call to our Nutanix and then, hey, I want to buy more 5 nodes. Okay, they consider to purchase the node for the capacity, so they want to purchase for 5 nodes. But after they heard about ERA and then we going to POC as well, the solution is changed. They just convert from the 5 node to ERA license and then use the ERA to clone the database. And you can see that it just clone the metadata, so it's almost 0-byte clone databases. And then we can do automatically. That means the data is up to date every 6 hours. So this is a current that we can convert from the hardware to the software only, right? So this is the beauty that the customer can bring, and we can bring our value into the customer side. Right? So this is the one case that you can see that we are changing the budget from purchase more node to ERA, and this is last manufacturing in Singapore, right? So yeah, so they just move into ERA. And next one is the customer actually landing on the Hexadata. It is Oracle Web Client, right? So this is the hospital in Taiwan. This is a big hospital in Taiwan. Then they have that they want to develop the new application, right? So then going for the outsources, meaning that they hiring outsource to develop the new application. So what they are doing that from the production, they need to back up, right? Back up and then restore into the new VMs so that the team outsources can be development on the real data. But what they are doing is they need 13 hours to doing backup and restore and do the masking. So this is the whole process that they need to do, right? So it's really long. Then they have the DR size. They're using the replication from Oracle. Then they're using the manual way to cloning, take around 4 hours to make the develop database for the internal database. So they don't ask for masking. And the same idea. I'm going in and start with POC that we bring the ERA in. Now it's a solution that customer already deployed. So from the production, we didn't touch. They're still running on Hexadata, right? Because they still have the MA. But what we help is they're moving the standby database from, the mid Oracle that they replicate to this side, the ER side. Then you're using ERA to cloning for them and cloning for outsources, the test Oracle for outsource and development for internal, right? And then we can refresh from 13 hours, we just reduce to half an hour for cloning. 3 hours for masking is still the same, but we can reduce from 13 hours to just less than 3 hours to doing that. If no masking, half an hour is done. So this is a real customer that using, right? So we have many use cases that customer can use the ERA. You can see that we challenge, into the business case. We don't talk about how many CPU, how many disks, how many memory that you need, and then we fight for the price, right, for the hardware. But now we're talking about the business case that we can use. We can help you to improve your business, right? So we have a TCO ROI as well, but not on this time. That I just want to give you the high level or idea of ERA can do, and then helping you to sell. You can see from this picture, other vendors can't do this. Right? They cannot do like this. The one that we try to compete is just infrastructure down below, right? The HCI, right? But on the top, no one can have this one, right? It have a lot of manual. It cannot automation. They need to purchase or buy from the third party. But for us, just Nutanix, right? So we have the database as a service here. So yeah, so this one is the detail of it, that they need to reduce the timing from 13 hours to just half an hour. So this is the real use case that I believe that last year I already implement. And this is other customer that using our Nutanix as well. We have a lot of customer in US, India, in German like Vodafone, right? Vocus, a lot of customer that using our Nutanix era. What is era, right? So that I mentioned about the era a lot. So you can see that on the below, the infrastructure service that we have today, right? The HCI, the NX, the AOS, right? We have the snap, clone, file, volumes, object, right? And that one is infrastructure as a service, right? So it's just an infra we convert from server side switch storage to the just our platform. Now we try to bring more value, right? So we create the database as a platform. So we call it era. You can see that we support multi-database, not just only Oracle, right? So we support for Oracle, Postgres, MariaDB, Microsoft SQL, and MySQL as well. We have a lot of features that can help customer. So the first thing is the top service. We're talking about the provisioning, right? The one-click provisioning. So the one-click provisioning, not just only one click. We have a lot of databases that we can doing, like Oracle RAC, which is the database cluster. We can do the Microsoft AAG, right? The always on cluster or single instance as well. We have the Postgres HA, which is the high priority for the Postgres, right? And customer can be select the version. Some customer that, oh, my application only support for Microsoft SQL 2016. So yeah, you can select some database that I want Microsoft SQL 19. Yeah, we support as well. So you just click and give a name of database and size. That's it. You can get it, right? So it's very easy. The next one, we're talking about the copy data management, right? So this one is talking about that when you have the production or the provisioning, then someday that ask our customer that, hey, I want to see the data on this date, or I want to testing for the data or auditing, right? So currently, if they don't have the era, they need to be like backup and restore. It takes a long time. But for what? You just select any time that you want, and then click a clone. That's it. It will be automatically create a VM for you, mount the database, bring the database up. Right? So it's very easy. The next one is data protection. So you can standardize that, okay, this is the critical databases. I need to keep it for 30 days. Right? So we have the capability for the keep the data of 30 days. If they want monthly, weekly, or yearly, we can do it as well. And the latest one, the patching. So most of the time that I talk to the DBA, provisioning, copy data management that they want to do, but it's not pain. Backup for data protection, yeah, they have third party, but the patching is really painful, right? It's just like if you have the Windows, right? You know that when you apply the security patch, right? Sometimes is application not running, so we need to restore. We need to test this. A lot of things that really painful, especially on Oracle, right? So we have capability for patching as well. The way easy, you just click and then select the version and then submit, right? As you know that we have the data protection in ourselves, meaning that if patching is failed, we have the data protection to restore for you, right? It's very easy. So this is a key main feature that our era focus on. We have a lot of feature, but this is the main feature, top service that the customer looking for it. So this is the I believe that we will give later is to a lot of text, but this one that can helping you to going to the customer and then qualify the question, right? So let's see that we're talking about the one-click provisioning, right? We can provisioning for multi-database engine. So the question for qualifying that, can you tell me about the current provisioning process of your databases, right? Let's say that today, if I don't use the era,
if I want to deploy the Oracle rack, right? It took me around a day. Sometimes that I ask the DBA, it take a week, right? Because it's many things that need to do, a lot of things, right? So this is the one that you may ask, right? I believe that you guys have focused on the infrastructure, but this one is another level that we can improve. And if we can do it like this, meaning that we are differentiated from other vendor without question, right? So we can do the databases, right? So yeah, this I'm not going one by one, but it's a lot of text that but you can review later. But who is our target? I think this is very key, right? So from our era, the target that is a VP, right? The director of IT, that the time to value that we can helping from the 2 weeks provisioning the database Oracle Rack or Microsoft AAG. We just can do it in minute, right? In security, that we apply the patch, right? Make sure that the security is there. And reliability and uptime, that we make sure that our architecture like self-healing can helping them a lot and save the money, right? Like my use case that they plan to buy more 5 nodes, right? But they just bought the era only that and can be achieve what they want to do. And most of the time that I went to the customer, our champion will be the database admin or DBA or even the application developer, right? Because that the database provisioning and configuration is very manual, right? But for our era, you just pick and choose, that's it. And you got the best thing that apply best practice for sure. This is most important, right? Because that, let's say that you set up the Microsoft SQL. You just next, right? You didn't change anything, you just next. Meaning that everything on die C, right? Or die D, right? But most of the databases engine, they will have their own best practice. If you deploy on this NetApp or EMC, they have the best practice how to deploy on that. Our Nutanix as well, we have the document PDF of talk about that. But it's better if we can use era to do automatically for the best practice, right? So this is very key that in my customer that they bought era because they want to make sure that every database deployment have the best practice, right? The next one is copy data management. That yes, the DBA spend more of the time that cycle for copying. You may ask the customer, hey, how many copy you have today and how many storage, right? So it's better if we can reduce the storage and reduce the timing to doing that, right? So very powerful conversation to the customer, right? So this is a high level of era, right? So that what we are doing is try to be database as a service on top of infra. And many times, I would say many times that I didn't talk about the AOS at all, right? Many times that I go to the customer side, I'm talking about the DBA, talking about databases, right? The use case. I didn't mention what is a hypervisor. I didn't mention I use NX or HX or DX. No, I just focus on the business, right? And many times that era will be bring along with the AOS as well. So that let's say that, oh, I have the 20 Oracle databases. Okay, I love the era capability. Okay, how do I do it? Sure, it's era platform. You just bought era, and then we just calculate from the sizing that, okay, how many databases, how many storage memory. We give you this, right? So we talk on the values, not just the how many CPU memory and sizing, right? So this is really key that we can bring conversation up level, not just only the CPU memory and this. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is my for start for the unlock. The next one I will talking about the database on Nutanix, but before that I stop, and then what audience have any question Let me go back, stop sharing and get back to the screen. That I see what is the question here. Anything here?
There's no question at the moment.
Okay.
So guys, you can ask your questions by using the Q&A screen. But I think Manish it's time for Manish's session. Manish, are you ready?
So Freddie is gonna continue this with the session today. I will be there for some question asking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I will continue for the database on Nutanix. Then Manish will be helping me on the some question that related with the
Anything is to be added, I will add during the presentation.
Okay, great.
Carry on.
I have some question that if I want to migrate from Oracle supercluster to Nutanix era, how we can do it? How can I do it? Manish, you want to answer this one?
It's a good question.
Sorry, I didn't get the question, Freddie. Can I see it somewhere? Is it posted somewhere? Okay, let me answer the first one, which is basically your migration. So for migration, we have different approaches, and we obviously offer it as part of our professional services. So if the existing Oracle is on an x86 environment, then it is pretty straightforward using Era. So Era provides you the capability of creating the Oracle standby or the data guard as we call. So using Era on Nutanix, you can create the Oracle data guard for a database which is primary on non-Nutanix. As long as it is x86, even non-Nutanix, we can create a data guard on Nutanix, and then it's a matter of switchover. So that's what we usually do, and it is a zero downtime approach to do this. So, but otherwise, if it is a non-x86, and some customers say, okay, I'm ready to take a downtime, so I don't want to go by the data guard approach. So in that case, what we do is we use Era to build your database VMs, which basically is according to the best practice of Nutanix and Oracle. And then we import data using the traditional methods such as your RMAN import or export or tablespace expose import. So those are the two major approaches which we follow during the migration. Is that answer clear?
I want to take that question further, Mahesh.
Go ahead.
If talking from, you've just answered the question from more of an implementation perspective.
Yes.
Coming from a pre-sales kind of perspective, where you are engaging the customer for the first time or for the second time, and they are having those conversations, how do you advise that partners guide customers from that point where they are on the Oracle supercluster environment, whether it's x86 or non-x86 environment? How do they guide them from that environment to Era? What's that conversation look like?
So mainly we start conversations around what are their current challenges they face in management of their databases, right? When I talk to customers, it's all around, the backup is a big problem for me. Patching is a big problem for me. Maybe provisioning, it might not be a very big use case for a lot of customers. For example, they created 10 databases today, and then they run with those 10 databases maybe for next 2 years, 3 years. And every year, they get only 5, 10 requests of databases. So provisioning, depending on if it's a MSP or is a big organization running as a database as a service, might have a lot of provisioning use cases. But a lot of use cases which I sit and talk to customers is all about how do you do your backup management? How do you do your copy data management? How do you build up your dev environments, UAT environments? How much storage cost do you spend on these lower environments? And these are the typical problems which Era platform will solve for you once you move these databases onto Nutanix Era platform. So CDM, patching, backup, these are the typical management problems which I see. And the ease which Era can do them, show them a demo. If they don't believe you, convince them at least for a POC. And once they do a POC, they have the right budget, I am pretty sure customers will not have a reason to deny you a deal. That's what at least I have seen. Freddie can share more. He's been into more PCs than me, obviously. But that's what my conversations lead to, yeah.
Yes, yeah, I agree with Manish. So the demo is very powerful. If we can demo to the DBA guy, they will understand what our value, and then it's just like,
yeah, that's very important.
yeah, like you see the first iPhone for the first time that I want it. It's the same feeling. So if you want to migrate Oracle, I mean, not just only Nutanix era, I would say that if the customer want to moving from the supercluster, which is the Unix, right? There are a couple ways to doing that, and we have our services team doing that, and we have a lot of experience on doing that as well. You're talking about the big Indian to little Indian, something like that. Yes, we can do it easily. I mean, we have the team, we have the experience to doing a lot of customer.
Yeah.
Does the Nutanix have the service to help customer moving to another platform to x86? Yes, we have, and we have a lot of customer that even not, frankly, we don't have the era yet 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, we are doing the same. That we migrate from Unix or big Indian to little Indians. About the version migration, it's the same idea that we can help if customer want, and then in the scope of work, like 10G. Actually, 10G is out of service, right? But yeah, we can help customer as well. Right. So the high level that we migrate the same version first, and then we do an upgrade in our platform. Or they can upgrade in their platform first and then migrate to us. It's a lot of detail that we need to consider, right? We need to talk to the customer in detail. Yeah, but the idea is, yes, we can do it, right?
Yeah.
It's not
all
combinations
are possible. Yeah. But as Freddy was mentioning, it's very important to talk to the right guys about this product, right? The infrastructure admin might not be able to, see the beauty of this product. It's only the DBAs who handle databases day to day, do these monotonous tasks day to day, spend their weekends on database maintenance. Those are the guys who can actually appreciate the value of Era. So you need to find the right guys to talk about. I know traditionally all of you guys been talking to infrastructure guys, but it'll be good to capture the DBA guys, the application guys who manage these databases and then show them the demo. Obviously, infra guys will be involved, but yeah, it's always good to have the DBA guys in the conversation.
Yep.
So there's one more question. It says, do you have clients running Oracle EBS environment on Era? Pretty?
Hello,
Pretty?
can you? Yeah.
I think we lost you for a second. Okay, Manish. So did you get the last question?
Yeah, the clients running EBS, right?
Yes.
So I at least know 2 customers who are doing that. There is one customer called Emerson, is based in East Coast in US, and there is another one, ZD Power, who's about to go live in within next 1 week. I can get you more names. I'm sure there are more. Prerit, do you know more? Any more customer names who are running EBS on Era?
As of I know, in immediate, no. Most of my customer is running just Oracle for healthcare, for banking, manufacturing, but yeah.
See, but at the end, for EBS also is just, for us, it's about Oracle database. Doesn't matter what the application here is. So here also, Era will not manage the EBS part for you. It will only clone and patch and everything, the database involvement with it. So at the end, application actually does not matter much when using Era platform.
Okay, does that answer the question, Herman? Are you happy with that?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for the question. Very eye-opening question.
Yeah, just another point about the version migration. So Era automatically provides a way today it provides a way to patch your databases, which is a minor version patching. But we are very actively working on the major version upgrades also. For example, 11 to 12C or 12 to 18C or 19C. And this feature of a major upgrade will be out by August sometime. So by the time you start have conversations and you have a customer, I'm sure it will be already out in the market. So don't worry about version migrations and patching at all. Especially for Oracle databases. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Any POC running? Yep. Also, I am getting Oracle database admin to Era. Any POC running? Yes. We have a lot of customer and trying on POC and yeah, they love it. And now they purchase a lot of customer that and hook into the era, and then
So
So
my
just only
request
that.
would be,
Haman, if you want,
go
okay,
ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry guys, complete. No, my request is Manish here again. So my request only will be that for initial few POCs from the field, involve us from the day one, involve Freddy, involve me, my team. So we handhold you, so we have early success and we are not doing multiple iterations. So it's very important to involve us till you all get, very useful with Era, or I would say, get how to use Era or, how to set up these things very fluent with it. So initial few POCs, my request would be to involve us and we will handhold you to complete this. You'll be front, obviously, we will be just at the background helping you to run these POCs successfully and then convert it to a deal. Yeah. And then as you get more fluent with it, you can run them independently in the region.
Let me extend that question a bit. Mahesh, can we leverage the hosted POCs to run?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. No worries. So that's what we do for most of the customers, especially after the COVID situation. You
Yeah.
reserve a cluster, give it to us. We will set up everything for you, whatever Oracle version customer wants, the gold image and everything. And then what we usually do a customer demo, hand over the environment to them, and then let them test it. That's
Awesome.
our usual mode of doing the POCs.
Awesome. So guys, you've heard it. I mean, that's like a blank ticket for us. So if you have any customers that you want to POC Era on, just let us know. We can set that up. So he says he's asking because he has a client running Oracle EBS database on Oracle appliance, and in future he'll be doing migrations. How do you go about that? How do you go about that?
Yeah, so we usually start with getting the sizing. So we usually will ask for the, standard AWR reports. What is the current configuration? What is the growth you are looking at? And then we suggest a sizing from our side. And then we also see what is customer willing to do a POC first, or he trusts our numbers already. Because we obviously show some numbers from our side in terms of IOPS, latency and everything. So if customers ready to believe us, we basically prepare Freddy will basically prepare a BOM of material for what kind of cluster is required to host this application, or host the database for this EBS application. If they want to do POC, we do an HPOC, try to get the best configuration possible. And then it's up to customer. Do they actually want to run a standard slob or swing bunch kind of workload, which are Oracle industry standards? Or some customers prefer that I will give you my data set. Maybe I have a 10 terabyte database. I'll give you 1 terabyte of data to run on this HPOC to test my query, my batch jobs and everything. So any model you want to. But the first step will be to start with a little bit of on the sizing thing, right? To look at the database, have a look at the AWR reports, and then suggest what is the best way of running this on Nutanix.
Great. So Haman, you can, if you are hearing this, you can
reach out to us.
Reach out to me and the team separately, and we can help move that conversation forward. Yeah. So guys, remember, before we move on to the next session, remember that we still have a quiz coming up at the end of the session where you get to win some good prizes, courtesy of Redington. So just keep on the call and keep the questions coming. So over to you, Freddy, to continue.
Yeah, thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
So, okay, let me start this next section. We're talking about the run database on Nutanix. Okay, just one-on-one, and then I believe I will give a little bit of demo of Era so that you can see it, what this look like. But okay, for this one, I want to see that, want to show that this is my POC, that before even Era is coming in, but we have the customer that running Oracle on bare metal. And we bring the box into customer side for POC, and you can see that they have the 4-socket CPU server, which is a HPE, and then as you know that our NX is just 2-socket, right? And then this is the result of comparison of the POC. You can see that in running batch job or run database process, right, we can improve almost 50%, right? So that is most important because the batch job is very critical, right? And this is the way that they are doing that. They're running on the loading and data web tier, application tier, and database tier, right?
And then another result that we improve around 50%. And not just only that, you can see that on the hardware comparison, they're using the HP, and they have 4 socket, right? You can see that processor 4 socket, and the processor is 2.7 gigahertz. And on the right hand side is our box, which is very old. Before even Manish joined Nutanix, or a team here joined here, I'm very old guys. But you can see that we have only Sandy Bridge and just only 2.0 gigahertz, which is very, very small, right? But we can improve almost 50%. Wow. So this is just a knockdown, and then now they have the big cluster for us. And next one, not just only Oracle, we have, I went to the customer for the airlines. This is the Thai Airways, which is a big airline in Thailand. They're running BB2 on P795, which is, you can see on the left hand side, it's very big guy, right? You know that the P series is very big. And I bring just 3 nodes, which is 4U, right? Just 3 nodes of 8,000. And this is the query of the record of their own. This is the result of the production. And this table is captured by DBA team, right? So you can see that the query of 30 days data, it should be around 45 minutes. And for us, it's just second. And this is, I mean, good to be true, but it's real. And this is the one that the DBA captured this screen to the management. And even me, I can't believe it as well, but many times that they run still have the same results, that we can reduce from 45 minutes to 16 seconds. So it's huge improvement, right? And for the batch job, right, from the production, they take around 56 hours. For us, it's just 28 hours. We can reduce half. So this is the key that we can help customer, right? This is the performance, and this is the Microsoft SQL running on the bare metal, which is have the all flash, right? At that time, and 4 socket as well, 56 core. And for us, it's 3 node, right? 2 socket core, and then it is a hybrid, not the all flash yet. And you can see that the performance we can improve, reduce from 8 hours to 5 hours for the loading data, right? And stay test for 4 days to less than 2 days. This is the banking. They're running, it's called like list management application, so that they a lot of query, a lot of calculate of data, so that we can reduce, right? And this is the another result that on the right hand side, they're running the NoSQL or MongoDB. On the right hand side, they just create a MongoDB with default configuration. So you can see that they're running the job, right? And then count for the 1 million. You can see that the 1,500 record per second. And on the left hand side, we apply best practice, which is I apply best practice on this VM. Meaning is, this is the same VM, we just clone it, and still the same on the Nutanix. But we just tuning, apply best practice. You can see that we can improve from 1,500 to 20K, right? 20,000 code per transaction. You can see that the best practice is very important, right? On the right hand side, they just next, right? For the left hand side, we coming in and then apply best practice that all the layer. And most of the customer will be asking me why and how you doing that, why you better, we have a big server, why you just 2 socket can beat it, right? The idea is because that the key is latency here, right? If you are using the server and storage, right? Let's say that from the server, they want to query the data or need the data. They need to going for the server to HBA card to fiber channel, SAN switch, and then go to the storage side and then coming back. So let's say that round trip is around 10 milliseconds, right? But for us, as you know that our, sorry, and this thing is bad. Okay, for our, right, you know that our data locality just going from the CPU in the behind and then go to the disk in the front.
So meaning that the round trip of the latency is just half or less than this. You can see in the Prism as well, but this is the key that we don't have, we may have the CPU that smaller, but our latency is key here, that we can respond the data more quicker, right? So this is the key that why we are better. Okay, but not just only the data locality here that you heard about that. There's something else which is very important. It's about the best practice, right? And the best practice, not just only Nutanix, right? We need to doing on the hypervisor layer, the guest OS, and the application layer, or which is database that we're talking about here. Because it's every layer, they have response time. How we gonna reduce all the layers, right? So this is very key. So this is the some example. This is the same Oracle, right? We have the Oracle here. We're using it's called Swing Bench, which is the application to load testing like an I/O meter. You may heard about I/O meter. That one for the disk, right? For the infra. But this one is Swing Bench for the database or DBA team. That, hey, I want to know what is the transaction per second for these databases. So you can see that same Oracle, same configuration. On the right-hand side, the average transaction per second is around 700. Okay, it's okay, right? 700 something for a second, right? But it's the same OS, same Oracle. We apply best practice. You can see on the right-hand side that the average for transaction per second is increased from 700 or almost 3,000. This is the same Oracle, same OS, same VMs, right? If we are focused more on the CPU side, you can see that the OS, the disk I/O, right? There we will see that, and the CPU, the green one is the user, meaning the Oracle calculates something, the system and the I/O weight, right? You can see that a lot of I/O weight, meaning that when the CPU want data, but the disk is not fast enough, so it need to wait, meaning that they cannot calculate anything, right? When the data coming fast, the CPU is going higher because they can calculate the data, right? On the below, this is the best practice is already applied. You can see that the I/O weighting is almost gone, right? And every time the CPU asks the data, it always get the data. So that meaning that they can process the data more. So this is a key that why not just only Nutanix, every vendors, VMware, Microsoft, Red Hat, they have their own best practice, right? Hardware vendor, they have their own best practice that each application is database engine need to be applied to that. They can use most of it, right? Let's say that you race and you buy the Ferrari, right? But you don't know how to ride it, so that you waste it, right? So you need to train yourself to how to use a Ferrari. It's the same idea here that we have the best practice how to train your application or databases how to use Nutanix and get more of it, right? So this is a key. And we have a lot of document that on our website, like Exchange, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, and a lot of things that we have on our website. This is my job for like 4 years, right? 4 years that I doing like this: the POC, the performance testing, the apply best practice to customer. This is my 4 year before ERA coming in. Why I'm talking about this one and why I'm showing the list of because it's even not ERA, the customer can have the beauty of Nutanix that have them gain more benefit of performance, have the reliability of self-healing, right? And then when we create the ERA in this picture, the meaning is not just only performance that they can get, they can have the positioning that have the best practice. The thing that I mentioned before, everything that I did, ERA do it for me, right? When I want to testing the cloning performance, ERA can do it for me. This is very key that how to make sure that every database can use most of the Nutanix infrastructure service down below, right? So that's why ERA is very important for positioning and cloning as well. Now, I want to show you of era. Okay, we talked about the era. We have 4 capability, right? Let's say that I'm going into the screen. I believe everyone see my screen for the era dashboard, right? Okay, going one, going twice. Okay, I believe it's okay. Now this is the era. For me, the first time I see it's just okay, but I want to go here, going to databases, right? From here, that okay, now it's better. I can see the logo that I familiar, right? So from this picture, I will say, oh, okay. From this one, you can see that we support Oracle, Postgres, Microsoft SQL, MariaDB, and MySQL as well. And all 5 databases that here, we are using is the same framework for provisioning, cloning, data protection, and patching. Right? So I'm start like this. Provisioning. Let's say for the one that most complicated is the Oracle RAC, right? So from here that you just give that, let's say I'm from Thai, right? Customer name is Thai, and I can select which the cluster that I want to deploy. Production, prod, DR, pre-prod, QA, dev. Let's say that this one is for production, right? And network, which VLAN that I will use. This is a PD file. If the customer, they have their own, yes, they can bring that here and then customize here and then define from here. And how many nodes that I need? Let's say 2, right? And then database server is name. Let's start with PD so that they know who is the owner. And then you can see from here that you can select the version, right? This is a new version, so that this is a new application. So I just select 19C. And you can see what is the version of here, right? You can see which PSU you want to apply. Let's say the April or October. If you select 12, you can see that which version you want to use. Let's say like 19. The compute profile, what is mean by that? The mean is how many CPU memory you want to deploy for this VM, right? For each VM. If it's just small, just 4E CPU and then 16 memory. But this one is you can define as well, right? So, okay, let's say that. Okay, and what do you use this, right? And upload the file for okay, the next. Okay, and then what is scan IP name? Let's say PD, right? What is a listener port? Then next, right? And then what is a database? Let's say that Thai CRM. Okay, what is SID? Thai CRM here. Passwords. Okay. Okay, and then next you just give the size of the databases. Right? And then what is the fast recovery area? Let's say that just 32 is enough. Right? And then you can define what is the database parameter, meaning that for the instance, right? So what is the block size? What is the target memory? Right? Let's say that if a data warehouse, we give more PGA, right, and routable space or OTP that you can define later, right? And then you can select the character set as well. And then next one is time machine. You can select for the SLA for data protection, how long you want to keep. Like let's say this one is 14 days, right? Staging is just for daily 7 days. Let's say that I give production. And then next, you can have a text for like cost center of this project, of this database. What is the department that owner this database, right? And then project of it. And not just only that, if they have their own, let's say that they have their own portal, you can using this API, right? And then they can copy here and then post it to use a API call to ERA to doing the all things that they don't need to select one by one and then insert the data. You just using the API, right? And I'm start provisioning. Okay, from here you can see that I'm start provisioning for the database Oracle Rack for 2 nodes, right? And from here they're just doing create a VM for me, right? Create the disk, right? Attach the disk, configuration the network, create a clusterware, create a database, and create rack, right? So this is a process that if you doing manually, it take around days for sure, right? But yeah, this is automation. And the key is when I do manually, it's always error, right? How do you fix that? You just copy the error, right? And then going to the Google and then search it, right? But this one, because it's doing by machine, meaning that it's no human error, it's no typing error, so it's always success. So this is very key, and it's all the best practice I mentioned in the slide. It's always do it for me. I don't need to do, provision it, and then after that I need to going back to apply best practice. No, it will be automatically for me. So this is just the provisioning, right? Then after we provisioning, we will have the database in here. Let's say that I'm going to the first CRM database, which is Oracle. From this picture, this is called time machine, right? Or copy data management that we discussed before. From the green one, the meaning is continuous. What is meant by that? So let's say that yesterday is 20. I want to see the data on 9 a.m. Okay, what I can do is I just create a single instance database clone. Then I say I want to see data on 9 a.m., 9 minutes and 9 seconds. Right, this is our Thai lucky numbers. So number 9. Right, so you can select like this. The meaning is when I next, they will ask me that, okay, what you want to do? One is to create new server, meaning that it will be create a new VMs with the database that I select this time. Right, so meaning that they will be create a new VMs and restore the database as the 20th of July and the data as of 9 a.m., 9 minutes, 9 seconds. Right? Or I just want to use the authorized server. What is mean by that? I just want to clone only the database and then attach back to the VM that already there, right? So let's say that I create a new VM because I need the new VMs that if I create the new VM server, meaning that I can choose, okay, this is just for testing, so it's very small. And the network that I can select, maybe I want to just select for the development, right? So yeah, then just upload the public key here, and then next. And then from here, you can rename the SID as well, so that you make sure that it's someone logging in and then not doing on production. It make sure that, oh, this is the phone one, right? And then you can change the passwords as well. Okay, and you can change the, maybe this one for reporting, so just change the reporting, right? And as I mentioned before, the customer that, okay, I can use it schedule refreshing. What is mean by that? It will be refreshing the data. Okay, let me show you later, but yeah, you can select for auto refresh, or you can select for removal schedule, meaning that at this time, I don't want to use this VM anymore, so it can remove it. Okay, then next. And you can text as well, right? The same, just clone. Okay, when it's clone, it's the same idea that I'm provisioning, right? So you just create a database, right? And then clone the database at the time that I select. And you can see from here that I have a lot of clone provisioning, right? Now we get back for the first page. Okay, now it's more makes sense. So I have the database as a source, meaning that I'm provisioning or register into Era. I have 8 source. And then I have a lot of clone, which is 48 clone here, right? You can see that if you're using the way that traditional cloning, which is like dump database and then restore, it should have around 100 terabyte. It should using around 100 terabyte. But as we are using the metadata clone, and we just use space only the data change, you can see that we just using only 13 terabyte. So you can see that we have a lot of safe space. Right? And for down below, let's see that the CRM, the Oracle, the first one, the size of database is around 2 terabyte, right? And the time machine is around 3 terabyte. Right? We have 11 clone. If you are using the traditional clone, it should be around 25 terabyte. But you can see that we just consume the space from the storage, just only 369 gig. So you can see that we can save a lot of space for customer. And it's very easy to consume the ERA. I mean, even I have the team that in his life, he never doing the Oracle before. He always doing the Microsoft things, right? The Microsoft SQL. From here, you can see that you just give the name, what the size of databases, and then next, you get the Oracle rack. Right? It's very easy. So this is the way that is can help customer to provisioning and then make sure that performance that I already present is always there because the best practice is already there, right? And cloning as well, right? And the one is another thing that we want to mention is about the patching, right? Let's say that just quick question to the customer, how many database you have? Yes, they can answer, right? Next one, which version you have? Now it's more confused, right? I have 12, I have 11, I have 18. And for each version, how many database you have? Now is can't answer, right? So for us, if you are using ERA, you can see that for the 12.2 Oracle, right? We have 10 database using it and in 6 cluster. Let's click in here, right? And we can say that which version that how many database use, right? For the PSU1, I mean the version 1, right? What is the software profile and grid software version and patch number? We have all of it, right? And we have the 5 database using it, right? The version 2 we have 5, but the version 3 we don't have yet, right? So let's say that I click for the 5 one. If we list all the databases that using this version, and I can click here, right? And you can see that the software version, right? We can detect that, oh, this is the current version, right? And recommend for the new one. So you can click here, and then you can choose which one you want to patch. And you can select as of now or later. Right? So up to you, up to customer. But the idea here is it's not only that we can patch, right? I always talk to the customer. Okay, let's say that you don't have ERA, you don't have automation. You want to patch Oracle or SQL. What you are doing? First, they will going to development server first, right? Then they patching, they apply security patch on development server is passed, and then they moving to production. When they are doing on production, it's always fails. I don't know why, but always fails, right? It's funny. I believe it's in the whole world. It's the same idea. Development is always passed. Production is always fails. So it need to be back up, restore, and everything, right? The reason why it always fails, why is development is passed? Because the development server, right, and the production server is different VMs. It's different OS. Sometimes it's different configuration. The data is not equally. So meaning that when I test the development, the production is not the same, right? But you can see in ERA, we have the time machine. We can clone it. What is mean by that? Meaning that I can clone from the production to development. Meaning that OS, configuration, Oracle binary, the data is the same. So if I patching on development server and it passed, what it mean? It means that my production is passed 99%. I didn't say 100%. I said 99%, right? But if the 1% have fails, you can still have the capability of restore because we have backup here, right? We have the time machine here, so you can going back very easily. So this is a key and beauty of Era for patching, because we remove the list of patching on develop is passed, production it fails, because different VMs, different OS. We can do is we can make sure that when we testing, it look like the same of production because we clone it, right? Config, OS, and data, everything is the same. If it's passed, 99% it always pass. 1% if you have something unlucky, we still have the time machine to restore for you. So this is the beauty that most of the customer, when they see this, I mean DBA, not infra guy. If infra guy, they don't care, right? But for the DBA, that this is the hookup that when they saw, they want it. I mean, cloning, patching, refreshing, that really easy. So yeah, this is the power of Era. And to give you a reason that Manish, who the one that developed this one as well. So he the guy, he know all the code that in here. Okay, this is my section for database on Nutanix. So what I want to mention is we have a lot of capability of performance that can reduce, I mean, can remove the list and can give the better performance, can give the better reliability of Nutanix, right? And combined with the Era, which is more than that, we can give more about the patching, about the cloning and provisioning, and all the best practices applied. So this is really powerful tool that combine together and make the customer success, and you guys can sell more easier to the customer, that you can see the value of this product. So, and less the competitor. So it's very powerful. Yeah. So yeah, let's get back to our team here. Any question? Okay, most of the
Thank you, Pradi.
Sure.
Thanks, Pradi.
Yeah, so just to add a few points there, see, the copy data management functionality especially gives, opens a lot of use cases, right? There was a question, right? How do I ask my customer to move to Nutanix? There could be customers who do not want to move their productions at this point of time, right? Maybe their Exadata is not up for refresh, the current infrastructure is working well. How do I start conversation in those cases where production is not ready to move to Nutanix? Well, very good. We will target the use cases for lower environments there, right? For example, my production is in Exadata, but can I use Nutanix for my lower environment? For example, my UAT, pre-prod, dev. Yes, it's possible. Using Era, we create the data guard on Nutanix, and then the time machine or the Era time machine can completely run on data guard, create your clones, create your 0-byte clones, and give you the exact same functionality which you were seeing for the primary also. Similarly, for MS SQL AAG, you can create one of the replicas or one of the sinks on Nutanix, and then you use Nutanix cluster for your lower environments. So all kinds of competition. For example, a lot of my banking customers are using Nutanix Era, for reporting servers, right? A lot of heavy reports run overnight, which they don't want to run it on the production. So what they do is they refresh. They have automated refreshes, which refreshes the copies of database every night from the production data, and then these heavy batch job runs, and their reports are ready by the time business comes in the morning. So it's all use case driven. It might look to be like, okay, for Era now support 5-6 features, but when you multiply it with the number of use cases it can support, it goes multi-fold. That's the point I want to make. Any other questions?
There's a question here. It says, kindly explain the self-healing features of Era available.
Okay. So for database side, if the question is more on database side, will Era heal the databases? No, that is not in today. So we do not do anything on the database performance side or database monitoring side. There is some monitoring involved, obviously. We can show you the up and down status of the databases. But if the question is in the lines, if the database goes down, will Era try to bring it up? Answer is no right now. It'll be all the HA capabilities will be all application level, which is basically Oracle level, or whatever Nutanix provides as a platform, for example, right? The RF2 capabilities and everything. If the question in terms of ERA HA or self-healing capabilities of ERA, so ERA basically has something called a ERA resiliency snapshot, which is internally taken at different intervals. So if something goes wrong with ERA itself, it is not, I would say, auto heal thing, but it can be brought back up easily with using those snapshots. So there are self-healing features for the time machines also. For example, a backup was missed because the database was in a maintenance mode, or an archive log backup was mixed because the database code was not down or was not up at that time. So those healing features are inbuilt in ERA. ERA will try to fill up the backup and bring you a continuous time machine as long as possible, as without any gaps, without any holes. So self-healing is more on those lines in ERA right now, your backup management and your archive log management. But other healing features for the database up, down, those things will be built in future.
Yeah, let me add more. I believe that the self-healing that I mentioned is about the AOS self-healing. This is the IF tool that Manish mentioned. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Manish. Guys, any other questions before we go into the quiz? Okay, he says, explain the license model for all the DBs. So licensing, Pretty.
Okay, Freddie, you wanna go? You wanna try? Go ahead, Freddie. Go ahead.
Yeah. So for the licensing for the database engine, I will say that it's still the same, right? Because our ERA, let me maybe share my screen here. You can see that on the top, I mean, for us, we can provide database as a service, meaning that you can run any databases on your, but the licensing of Oracle, Microsoft SQL, right, they're still the same. Right? For the Oracle, if standard will be for the socket, if the enterprise will be call factor, right? The Microsoft you can select for the virtual CPU or the physical CPU, but the license still remain the same. But what we can help customer is we can avoid the licensing. Manish already mentioned that we need to understand the workload from the area report or the workload from the Microsoft SQL so that we start sizing and we can assist customer that how we gonna helping you to consolidate and avoid the licensing that over subscription, something like that. That I think that the answer for us. We can't fight for license for the customer, right? Even you guys, our partner or channel, customers need to negotiate with the customer. I mean the Oracle or Microsoft SQL, but we will have the way or the thing that we can help to avoid the license. I believe that that answer. Sorry about my English.
Was the question more on ERA licensing or DB licensing? Do you also want to understand
DB
what
license.
the ERA license? Okay.
I think it's the license. For the ERA license, yeah, if you want to understand the ERA license, we have many things. I mean, the easy to understand it, we have the ERA platform. What is in by that? That as of today, the ERA will be separately from the AOS, right? You can see this infrastructure that means our AOS, CBL that you already sells, right? The ERA is different, I mean, add-on, like file, like fold, like volumes, right? The way that if you want to dedicate a cluster for databases, you can provide as the ERA platform. The meaning is the ERA will be include the AOS Ultimate. So this the whole picture. It's just like you can see the Oracle Hexadata, meaning is it include the Oracle support hardware and software, right? It's the same that for ERA platform we include the AOS Ultimate as well. Or you want to separately that for the customer, I need the mixed workload into the cluster, you can separately purchase the ERA license separately. Yeah.
There's one more question. It says, what are the functionalities in ERA that provide or support continuous availability of databases? So availability. business continuity and availability of databases?
So I would say, so in terms of availability, because the restore processing, Era provides you to restore your databases quickly, rebuild your databases quickly if something goes wrong. It's more on those sides, right? But the HA capabilities are all again application level, whether you're building. So it helps you to build a rack quickly, an Oracle rack. I'm talking all examples of Oracle, but it's applicable to all kind of databases. So if you're looking for application HA, it helps you to build a rack quickly. So then the HA, so application level HA business continuity comes into picture. And because of Nutanix RF2, that comes into picture. But if still something goes wrong and your database corrupted or you're not able to bring it, so then Era obviously has your snapshots, your archive log backups to rebuild your database quickly, and not just the database part, but the server also. The database server VM can be rebuilt. The database part can be rebuilt. They can be rebuilt individually also. If the server is not corrupted, just the database is corrupted. So you can rebuild your database inside the server. So it's on those terms. Your RTOs and RPOs are very quick compared to your legacy infrastructures or even any stand storage kind of infrastructure also. Because even in stand storage, you need to get the storage, you need to mount it. But here being HCI, everything is available right there. Era keeps track of everything, and then you can rebuild your databases, RTOs very, very quickly as compared to any other legacy infrastructures.
Great, thanks. One more question or two more questions. It says, will I use Nutanix Era for my DB environment plus Nutanix HCI combined for app, or I can buy one Era of app and DB?
Okay, so to clear the air here, first of all, Era is only for database management. It does not do any app management as of now. It's only for your databases, whether it's Oracle, Postgres, MySQL, MariaDB.
We have Calm for that. We have Calm. So if you want to do your other application lifecycle management, we have Calm. So we have a solution called Calm that does lifecycle management for other applications.
Yeah. So the cluster can host anything. It could be a mixed workload, as Freddy was mentioning before. If the cluster is dedicated for databases, then you go for Era platform licensing, because all the databases will be managed by Era. But suppose you have small databases, it does not require the whole cluster. Then you have the provision of buying, the CPU licenses of Era only for the databases part. For example, if you have 200 cores or 400 CPUs in the cluster, only 200 are being used by the databases. So you can just buy 200 licenses of Era rather buying 400 licenses for the whole cluster. So those permutations and combinations possible. And for app management, as Tony was mentioning, you can keep using your Calm stuff.
Yeah. So one more question. This person is asking, what are the reporting features associated with Era reporting?
Okay. So today we have reporting and alerting for Era operations. For example, you schedule Era to do a cloning or to do a patching or a backup every day or an archive log every 30 days. And if any of these fails, you can integrate your SMTP server to get emails about this. Database alerting and monitoring. So we give you some basic information about database servers. For example, how was the CPU consumption and stuff in last 3 hours, 4 hours of this. But proper database monitoring and alerting is a feature which is into development and will come sometime end of the year or beginning of next year. But today, alerting and monitoring is more on the Era operations side. If any of the Era operations fail, then definitely you'll be able to integrate it with email. So for example, few of my customers, as I was mentioning, have these refresh jobs which run every night. And then morning, they get these reports whether the refresh is successful or not. If it fails, they get an email alert. So those things can be integrated existing into alert system right now.
Awesome. Thanks. One more question. The questions keep rolling in. So
no problem. Good question.
It says, do I still need to do traditional DB backup when running Era?
Okay, let me answer that. Okay, so it's again business driven. So our answer is you don't need it. Again, what is your business requirement? So what happens is when Era takes the snapshot based backup, the snapshot is residing on the same cluster where your database is running. So your cluster is a single point of failure. But a lot of my customers have compliance requirements that the backup needs to be stored at a different place also. So with 2.0 coming to the picture, which is coming out by August end, we will provide a functionality where you can replicate these snapshots across other Nutanix sites.
Wow.
So so that way you have at two places a snapshot, right? Even the single cluster is not a single point of failure. Even if the complete cluster goes down, you have the backups in the snapshot format other cluster, which can be used to restore your databases. So yeah, I would say it's a business requirement. You want to have backups outside Nutanix cluster somewhere, then yes, you will have to take a traditional DB backup, which is your RMAN or anything else. If you are happy with snapshot residing on the same Nutanix cluster, or even on a Nutanix cluster in forms of snapshot, that's also, then you don't need to have the traditional DB backups.
Great, awesome. Thanks for that, Predi, and thanks, Manish. It's one more question. It says, any security auditing features for DBs hosted on Era? So do you have any auditing features?
Short answer, not as of now. So this will come as part of the monitoring feature which we are building for databases.
Okay. In roadmap. So it's in roadmap.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks. So guys, you've heard it all. I mean, it's so you start hitting up all your database administrator connections in your customer accounts, all your application owner teams, application teams. You know, we've seen very, very compelling use cases and compelling value that Era can actually bring to customers. Actually, Era can be used. You can use Era as a tool for dragging HCI into your customer environment. So if they were not initially considering HCI, looking at the advantages and the value from a performance, from a cost perspective that Era can bring is actually a compelling use case to drag in HCI, and with time expands to their other applications too. Be covering that. Harry? Harry or Marianne? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Tunde.
So we're starting the quiz session now. So
Yes. Guys, please join on pollev.com/moneyplan085. So from your mobile or laptop, so that we can conduct the quiz session right now.
so let's put that on the screen.
Yes.
So guys,
Okay. 5 result. 17%. Okay. We will see the final result. Here you go.
yay! I took the lead back.
Yes. Okay. So, guys, top 3 winners. Please send your email ID, mobile number, company name, and everything on the chat, or you can reach out to me on this email ID.
So I've noted them. So congratulations, Abayomi, David, and Herman. Congratulations. So I've noted you guys. Yeah. Thanks for participating. Yeah. So guys, thank you. It's been a lovely time. Spending time with you guys. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for all the questions. We are hoping that this will translate into more pipeline. You know, some of you have been thinking of how to build pipeline, how to build some differentiated pipeline. Now, this is an avenue for you to differentiate yourself. Era is not an application that we have vendors out there, many vendors out there providing. You know, it's one of those specialized solutions where you have only the likes of, you know, Oracle providing for very exorbitant or high prices, and you can see the value. I mean, from the presentations that has been made. So Put this in front of your customers, DBAs, application developers, and application owners, for us to now start adding value to them, and of course, for you to increase your pipeline and therefore increase your revenue over time for your business. So thank you so much. We'll be sending through the presentation, the recording to you guys, and also probably a PDF form of the presentations that were held. So thank you very much, and congratulations to our winners. Okay, so the winners should drop their email to Harry's email. That's the email displayed on the Q&A. Harry, do you want to share your screen and just put your email on that?
Yes, please.
So
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, I have made you the presenter, so you can share your
Okay,
screen.
I wanted you to share yours, but it's okay.
Okay.
I'll just create a new slide.
No, if you want, I can share it. That is not an issue.
Yeah, just share your screen so they can see your email in full,
Okay.
in larger. Stop recording.